Wow, that's a nice, comfortable music. Hello, Doug.
Hello.
Welcome in the Friday Ketchup. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining in. I'm here together with Douglas, and we have actually met quite a few times already at several open source and SUSE events all over the globe, I guess.
Yeah, we've been in various different continents, meeting one another, and we've known each other for quite a long time.
That's right. Even before I joined SUSE, I guess, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, almost a decade ago, right? Something like pretty close to that. So
Yeah,
we've known each other
yeah.
for a long time.
I guess
those
so.
green shoes.
Exactly, the green shoes, yeah. Actually, I'm wearing orange ones nowadays, orange shoes. But orange is also one of the colors of SUSE. I think it fits well. Hey, what I'm always curious about when I meet you is how is the open source, the openSUSE community specifically doing nowadays? Can you give us an update or where we are? And is there something that you want from the Friday Ketchup audience?
Well, I could start with that. If you're interested in contributing to openSUSE, your audience, please feel free. I mean, that's kind of like how you can have an effect on, SUSE products as well.
Yeah.
That's a pathway to leading into that. But if there's anything that you want to change, provide some input, communicate with the openSUSE community, which is the open source community. That's sort of the backbone, you could say, for SUSE as far as community efforts, which is a wide spectrum. It's an entire environment. We have relationships with various people who work for different companies or are part of different projects, and we all kind of contribute to the same effort, which is open source, right? And then going to the openSUSE community, yes, everything's going well. We're coming up on elections pretty soon. I'm actually on the openSUSE board myself. Two spots running for that. It'll be available. And that's another thing. If anyone's out there listening, get involved. Get involved with the governance. It's an important part for open source projects is the governance model. So
yeah, absolutely. And where do people go if they are interested?
They can just go to the wiki, just type in openSUSE board. Obviously news, we publish some information about that as far as what people would have to do to run for the board. And so it's available. That's just news.opensuse.org. Or
I'll put it underneath here, or here somewhere.
I mean, if you open your browser, you're running any openSUSE, and it goes to the default, you should see it on the news or various ways of getting that information out.
All right, cool. Hey, you're wearing a HackWeek hoodie, and it is HackWeek right now at this week. Does that mean something special to you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. HackWeek has a lot of history with the openSUSE project, and it's spawned the development of OpenQA. Not sure if you're aware about Weblate, which is a translation tool used all across a variety of open source projects. Use it.
Oh wow!
That actually was also something that started out from HackWeek.
Wow.
Wow.
So what is it again? Because I can put it then underneath as well.
Weblate.
Weblate.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And runs. HackWeek runs with the openSUSE community as well as like SUSE gives that as sort of a benefit. 1 week where people can just work on what they want. And we've even had if you're familiar with what was Micro S Desktop, now called Aeon, specifically to GNOME. That was actually spawned also from HackWeek.
Okay, I have one more question because I'm in the open source and in the SUSE world already for quite a while, and I was always able to explain the difference between openSUSE and then there is Leap and there's Tumbleweed, and maybe I'll explain it wrong, but I try to explain so, as always, as my mother would understand. So Leap is a distribution that has a frequent release, a new release, sort of a timestamp, and then, okay, this is what we will support for the next period. And Tumbleweed, as the tumbleweed in the desert, keeps on tumbling and keeps on constantly updating, and you never know what it will look like tomorrow. So that's the difference between Leap and Tumbleweed. But now we have some other flavors of SUSE Linux as well. Can you explain us a little bit the other flavors and how do they relate to this? So of course there is slash. Okay, slash is the commercial version, if I may say it like that. Maybe I'm being ticked on the fingers here, but that's how I would say it. So those three, I get that. But then the other ones, the new ones.
Yeah. So I mean, from that, you have Tumbleweed, which is sort of like you could call it a highly tested and usable distribution. Tumbleweed, highly tested, usable distribution, which is basically coming from the code stream, which is openSUSE factory. And then if it gets through all the tests and passes, you'll get a snapshot with that new updated hardware or updated software, firmware, whatever, to make sure that actually is working. You go through the test and then you get the snapshot. Yeah. Occasionally there's something, but that happens, but that's fixed in the next snapshot or a couple ones afterward. But the beauty of that, right, if you're running Btrfs, is you just roll back. And then that'll eventually come. But we want, that's sort of our contributor base. It's sort of the flagship of openSUSE itself. And from Tumbleweed, you end up getting these various different flavors, right, that come out. So Leap would be one of those that kind of at a period in time. It's more of a traditional. Leap is more of a traditional, where Tumbleweed is a rolling release. But with Leap, you'll get that sort of snapshot, and then that gets hardened over the the year that usually it's been going, and that is usually done on a major release, and then every year or so you get that repetitive aspect, where right now we're on Leap 15.5, which aligns with SLE or SLE 15.5, Service Pack 5. And in Service Pack 3 is actually where it really became compatible across many different levels, right? And so with that, you also have other things that have kind of entered into Tumbleweed, and this is where you get the micro distributions. Micro OS, and even Leap Micro, right? Because you have that now. Now these are more meant like host OSs. You're looking at running container cloud applications, variety of different things, but it's not. Those are not so much for the desktop. We can say that, right? No. So you're just looking at server-based uses there and container-based stuff. So, and with Aeon, or what was Micro OS Desktop, that was sort of like, well, let's see if we can turn that into a desktop distribution. That's kind of what you have. That you get the same stuff in there, right? But that's a subset of Tumbleweed. So when Tumbleweed is updating, like you're getting those updates, but like the beauty of it is it's immutable. It's an immutable OS. And so like you're basically getting that latest GNOME that comes out. And I run that myself. Fantastic. I really enjoy it. And then we have a couple other ones that are kind of coming out, and this is where the project itself is going through a bit of a transitionary period, because there's a variety of things happening, and we as a community are trying to figure that out. And that's that is some people could be voices, we'll just say, and bring in some other different thoughts, but we as a community, we're just focusing on, well, where do we want to go? And so right now we kind of have two different options that we're looking at. One is called slow roll.
Slow roll?
Slow roll. I saw that's sort of think of it as a slower rolling release.
Tumbleweed, but not as fast.
Exactly. And so interesting, there are a lot of use cases for it, at least what we've seen. And we recently had a survey about use cases, where we asked a lot of these things, just so it could give us some feedback and really get some insight, like how to move forward. And then we also have another one, which it was called Grassy Knoll, and that was actually part of last year's Hack Week.
Oh yeah.
But we're kind of changing that. We don't have a name yet, but that's still going to progress. So we kind of have these two, and we're going to see where they go.
Yeah.
And that's just as a community, and the community do we end up having the two overall? We don't know.
No.
But we are going down this path, and we're going to see what the use cases are and if they work. So, but again, going back to the use cases that we did, we did a use case survey last month, and the alternative one we don't have a name for didn't have any questions on it. So we do want to repeat that. We can at least we have a baseline to see like, okay, well, here's what the use cases were. Mm-hmm. Here's the satisfaction that we get with it. Yeah. And then we do a new one, and kind of maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, depending on when that comes out. And then we can kind of like gauge from there to see what to do, right? Yeah.
All right, really cool. Well, thank you so much for the explanation. I'm also curious for the song you picked. Can you tell us which song it is? And then once you explain it, we'll go back to this beautiful music. Oh, yeah. And let's listen to it some more.
Yeah, so Eddie Rabbit, I mean, this is an old song. And for me, it reminds me of my childhood, like driving through the grapevine and driving somewhere in Arizona and Nevada, Texas, and I don't know. It's something that reminds me of, I guess, a time when it was a little less complicated. Okay, life was a little less complicated. All right, yeah. Because I was young. But yeah, I really and so it's Eddie Rabbit. What is it? Eddie Rabbit. I'm running my life away. But I kind of like the beat, and it's really kind of a classic song for me. I heard it in the bar the other night, and I was like, wow, this is great, because I had been listening to it quite often. So.
Yeah, sounds really good. Well, let's go back to it. Thank you all very much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and see you next time. Give us a thumbs up or a heart, and Eddie Rabbit, here it goes. I think.